Elphaba will have a brand new song in Wicked for Good, and even though we've barely heard a note of it, its title makes it perhaps the most fascinating entry on the soundtrack. Ahead of the movie's November release, the official track listing for Wicked for Good has been revealed, giving fans an idea of what to expect in the highly anticipated musical. Though most of the songs are from the Broadway stage production, like Thank Goodness and No Good Deed, both Elphaba and Glinda will belt out original tunes. They are among the many changes that are expected in the movie. With Act 2 of Wicked far more plot-driven and speedy than Act 1, director John M. Chu and the creative team have added new material to expand the story. Arrivo helped write Elphaba's new song alongside original lyricist Stephen Schwartz. According to the soundtrack, Elphaba's new song will come early on in the film, right between the musical's Act 2 opener Thank Goodness and The Wicked Witch of the East. Interestingly, it has been titled No Place Like Home, a phrase that anyone even slightly familiar with The Wizard of Oz will recognize. The song's title comes from Dorothy's iconic line from The Wizard of Oz, when she, while clicking her ruby-slippered heels, says, "There's no place like home," and is finally returned to Kansas. It's one of the most well-known bits of dialogue from the film, and its inclusion in Wicked for Good cannot be anything other than intentional. Its placement within the story suggests Elphaba could be singing of her own desire to return home. At this point in the film, she'll have been the Wicked Witch for a good while, and thus ostracized from those she loves for just as long. Perhaps faced with the news that Glinda and Fiyero are engaged, she finds herself longing to return to how things used to be. This notion is further supported by The Wicked Witch of the East, coming right after. A new addition to the Wicked soundtrack after being notably left off the Broadway cast version, the song takes place when Elphaba goes to visit her sister Nessarose. It would make sense if Elphaba's longing for home sent her right back to her family. The specific use of the phrase, "no place like home," inherently ties Elphaba's journey to Dorothy's, suggesting the two women actually have more in common than they'll ever realize. Though Dorothy's accidental actions upon entering Oz will earn her Elphaba's wrath, this song almost seems to suggest that, had they met under different circumstances, perhaps they'd actually be aligned. The conflict between Dorothy and the Wicked Witch, though featuring so prominently in The Wizard of Oz, ultimately has little impact on Wicked's plot. Dorothy never appears on stage, and many scenes take place in the aftermath of, or almost in the shadow of, major Wizard of Oz moments, like the young girl's arrival in Munchkinland. However, there's been a lot of speculation that For Good will show more of Dorothy, and this new song certainly points to that idea. It's such an overt reference that it has to have a purpose behind it. Chu could be banking on audiences' Wizard of Oz knowledge to form the thematic connections themselves, and that wouldn't be unfair of him, but actually seeing Dorothy would make it more impactful. I'm not saying we need Dorothy on screen saying, "There's no place like home," since that would be way too obvious, but letting her come face-to-face with Elphaba might reframe both characters' arcs. For Elphaba, seeing a young girl who, at her core, likely wishes for the same things she does, might make her feel differently about her entire journey after spurning the wizard. For Dorothy, seeing that the Wicked Witch is just a woman, in the same way we did as an audience while watching Wicked, could show her things aren't as black and white as the Wizard of Oz makes it seem. Of course, none of this will ultimately change their fixed ending, which is the biggest tragedy of Wicked. For Good has a tricky line to walk because, as great as it would be to see Dorothy, it shouldn't spend so much time on her that Elphaba and Glinda's story gets overshadowed. However, with a reported runtime of 2 hours and 18 minutes, there is room within the story to touch upon Dorothy a fair bit. The musical's Act 2 is roughly 1 hour, and while simply expanding the original scenes will inflate that time considerably, it'll still need more material to reach 2 hours.